Haas's 2022 season's overall performance was not that impressive for several reasons, and one of them, according to the team, was Mick Schumacher's constant crashes. Now that the team has given Schumacher the boot and replaced him with 35-year-old Nico Hulkenberg, will they be able to do any better? Or will they end up leaving F1 altogether? The American team Haas joined the Formula One World Championship in 2016, and many were excited to have an American team racing again after the US F1 team flopped in 2010. But the team has not been able to gain its footing, and it looks like history might be repeating itself, and Haas will leave Formula One like its American predecessor. They had started well as Romain Grosjean, one of the drivers who drove for the team in 2016, was able to emerge as the 6th and win 8 points for the team upon their debut at the opening Australian Grand Prix. Although his teammate Esteban Gutierrez crashed and caused the race to be red flagged, they broke a record of being the first American constructor to win points in its first F1 race and the first constructor overall since 2002 to record points in its debut. In Bahrain, Grosjean had a good race again and emerged as the 5th, but after that, they could only score points 3 more times, and it went downhill that season. In 2017, the team got a new driver after Gutierrez was shown the door. Kevin Magnussen, the new driver, earned a few points, but that did nothing to move them from the 8th position they were on the Constructors' Championship table in the previous year. But the next year was better. 2018 has been the best year so far for Haas. Magnussen scored Haas's first ever fastest lap, and the team emerged as the 5th on the Constructors' table after winning 4th and 5th place in Austria that season. From this season, it went downhill again. In 2019, the team had its worst performance since its debut in 2016. They emerged as the 9th on the Constructors' Championship title and even got accused of taking on a rogue sponsorship, Rich Energy. In 2020, they emerged as the 9th again, gaining no points. But in 2021, Schumacher got on the board, and they were able to earn points that moved them up the ladder by 1 step. In 2022, they emerged as the 7th on the Constructors' Championship table. Although the team is generally known as one of the midfield teams in F1, many expected so much from them. And when they decided to replace Schumacher with Hulkenberg, many thought they had made the worst decision ever. Haas has a nature of starting the season on a good note. They always earn points at the beginning of the season as they bank on rival teams fumbling, and it always seems to work. Evidence was in the 2022 season when Magnussen earned points in 3 of the first 4 races of the year. He was even able to cop a 5th in Bahrain, but like always, when every other team begins to find their own footing, they fall right back. In essence, they need a driver that would earn them solid points whenever the car is capable, and that person could be Nico Hulkenberg. Nico Hulkenberg got dropped from Renault after the 2019 season and had no F1 seat until Haas. He caught Haas's attention by being a super sub. He jumped into cars as soon as needed and could perform well without prior experience. Nico was a good driver, but he was better in his early days of his career. Now he's only a midfield driver. He's consistent and would earn points for the team by being 6th or 7th as far as the car is capable, but can he do more? There is doubt about that. His experience is also good for the team. Haas often needs help understanding upgrades. He can help them navigate better. Since the team's shot at being one of the top teams is bleak, Nico driving their car and keeping them in the midfield might sound appealing. But is it worth kicking out Mick Schumacher for? Nico was indeed an experienced driver, but he's no young blood. He'll be comfortable as long as he's earning the points the team requires. A pat on the back is enough to keep him going, but that won't be the case for Mick Schumacher. Schumacher's 2021 season was not very impressive, but the car could take a major share of the blame. The fact that it was his first year in Formula One could also not be ignored. But in 2022, everyone expected him to wow the audience, but the reverse was the case. He couldn't find his footing early enough, his constant crashes got the Haas's team's bank account red, and put him on the management's radar, but he got a better hang of the vehicle in the middle of the season. An example of him skillfully maneuvering his car against Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen in Austria and Britain. He raced comfortably beside the 2 outstanding drivers and held them for a while before they finally left him behind. Of course, Hulkenberg could have done the same thing, but the difference between him and Schumacher is that Schumacher would have put in more effort to get ahead than Nico. The reason is that besides Schumacher having his dad's legacy pressuring him, he's also a young driver that wants to make a name for himself in Formula One. He's just starting out and he has so much to prove. Nico doesn't really need to prove anything, but Gunther shares different beliefs. In a statement he made after announcing the replacement of Mick, he said young drivers could not take as much risk as experienced drivers. In racing, 2 years is a pretty good time, but there was nothing before he jumped straight from Formula 2 to Formula 1 because there's no testing. As you can see, we've now got two drivers with experience because young drivers cannot really take risks, and we can't evaluate them like McLaren is doing with Oscar Piastri. But in the end, nobody knows how good he'll be in an F1 car. He was very good in F3 and F2, but it's still a big step to perform. If Haas had retained Schumacher, it would have meant that they had kept the same lineup for the first time since 2018-2019. You might wonder why this is important, but the reality is that drivers get more comfortable with cars as time goes on. Schumacher was already comfortable with the car at the end of the 2022 season. Whatever upgrades the car might get won't make much of a difference. Even if he struggles a bit to get the hang of it, it won't take him as long as someone who's just getting to know the car. Although Schumacher's performance was not the one everyone had hoped for, it was definitely not enough to get him dropped from the team, and maybe that's why his uncle, Ralf Schumacher, hinted that Günther had something against him, saying, "Mick has shown that there's potential, but no matter what he did, the team and Günther Steiner were never satisfied. This behavior cannot be explained with normal standards. It almost has to be something personal. I believe Steiner cannot deal with the fact that someone is the focus at Haas. He is very, very happy to be front and center." Günther Steiner's management style has been questioned on several occasions, especially in the 2022 season when he was seen scolding Schumacher in the open. It's okay to be firm, but definitely not okay to air your dirty laundry. But Günther didn't care about that and said what he thought without mincing words. Helmut Marko, Red Bull's chief technical advisor, was forced to comment. He said, "When a team publicly criticizes a driver so massively, as was sometimes the case, it shows there is no sign of trust." Of course, Ralf Schumacher was not impressed with Steiner's management tactics either, saying he was critical of the drivers and should criticize himself instead. Quote, "If you are so critical of the drivers, use self-criticism." End quote. The chances that Haas will perform way better than they've done in recent seasons is slim because other teams are also making upgrades to ensure they're better than they were before. But in reality, only time can tell. If you enjoyed the video, kindly subscribe and hit the like button. Also, don't forget to leave your thoughts about the Haas's future in F1 in the comments below. See you in the next video.